And welcome back to another episode of Café and Lily with your hosts, Rosa and Kelsey. Kelsey and Rosa.
Hello, Rosa. It's good to see you. It's been a while since we've been in the cafe.
Why are we back here today?
Well, it's been a while. We've been up to various things. We've both been a little bit busy
A lot of projects.
out in the world working on our own Yuri.
Yes, of course. We have to get back to the Yuri.
We do. We have to give back to the community. We've enjoyed so much Yuri over the years that we want to give back. We want to create. We want to post our own Yuri on Petal and Leaf.
Of course.
And it just so happens that we both achieved last year's Yuri resolutions.
Yes.
So do you want to remind everyone what yours was?
Mine was working on my own original Yuri, and that was It Girl.
Yes, famously.
I recently finished it back in December of 2025.
It was incredible to see it all come together.
Thank you.
You should be really proud of yourself.
I am. Thank you. I'm happy. I'm happy to have worked on such a project.
Yeah, it's good to create something yourself and to see it all come together. So we thought we'd spend this episode talking a little bit about that process.
Of course.
Alright, first of all, what inspired It Girl? The world needs to know.
Alright. So I said this a lot, but what inspired It Girl was Mike and Melissa and the trope of like a person encountering a mystical being and befriending them and even becoming romantically involved with them.
Yeah, that's always a classic. I mean, the trope, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily Mike and Melissa, but I'm sure that's a classic to you, personally.
It's a classic. It's a classic to me. I love Mike and Melissa. I have a lot to say on like these two particular inspirations. When I first conceptualized the idea, it was just like, oh, it's gonna be kind of like Mike and Melissa, but through this lens of that trope.
And you've wanted to make a Yuri based on Mike and Melissa for a long time. I think this goes back to pre-Cafe Lily, pre-Petal and Leaf.
Of course. I've always been saying it. I even drew like concept before. Like the two main characters, Michelle and Marilyn. They went through a few concepts, but Marilyn always looked the same. She was always going to be like a fox woman. And this is just calling back to like when originally she was supposed to be like some sort of mystic animal founded by Michelle. It was always going to be that angle. It was going to reframe like how in Mike and Melissa Mike sees like a purple skunk lady. It was like, oh, you could apply that trope, like recontextualize that into like this certain trope. Like it was something that was encountered. It was still going to have a bit of a horror angle, always going to, actually. That, Marilyn was always going to be a sort of dangerous creature and all that. And it was going to be in opposition to, like, Michelle. In her original design, she had, like, a lot more softer, more innocent-looking design. And more, at least, depressive-looking. A different kind of depressive. Like, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, that's not what you ended up going with.
Mm-hmm. As I slowly engage more and more with like Mike and Melissa, and I learn like a lot more behind the scene information, it kind of like changes like what I wanted to do with It Girl. When I went back to the drawing board, I redesigned Michelle to have the look she has now, where she was a lot more sharper, taller, a lot more Lupin-esque. And you get that she's a bit of like a shit person. And it's kind of just like taking that experience at someone's at a different angle. Like in Mike and Melissa, it's basically like this was supposed to be an angle where like Mike was going through a breakup and he was just dealing with like a bit of the aftermath of it. And from what I understand, this was kind of either if it's like true or not, the show wasn't like actually based on like a real life experience of like his relationship going awry. So like that's why Melissa's there, it's just to help him cope a bit, to help him get better. So, but in It Girl, that's supposed to be the reframing of like that angle where like I wanted this to be a horror base.
Yeah, you don't often talk about your love for horror. I feel like that might be something that people don't know about you, considering that you mostly draw cute anime fan art and things like that.
Yeah, I do, but occasionally you kind of just see like the little sprinklings of like something disturbing going on. Like you see me draw Coco with an axe in his head. No, I really love horror. I enjoy horror games, themes, and such. As you can see, I'm just been playing, occasionally talk about like an asymmetric horror game based on Sonic. So, but yeah, I always love horror. I always love the aesthetics, especially like creepypasta and stuff. And when I was doing this, I wanted to have like a bit of a mostly psychological horror, where the horror and uneasy comes from the relationship between Michelle and Marilyn.
Yeah, it was great to see that come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fun fact about Marilyn: her name is based on the concept and idea of Bloody Mary, like because her name for short is Mary. So it's like Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And she is like a sort of cryptic that comes out of nowhere and is causing suffering. So I thought that was fun.
Of course.
Beforehand, it was going to be more forward that like Marilyn is an outwardly being. But when it comes to making the comic, I wanted to make it a lot more ambiguous whether or not if she's real.
I really liked that. I think I said so when you first showed me your draft. I was like, yes, I like how this ends.
Yes, yeah, and that's the funny part. When in the process of like writing that first draft, you looked over it. That was when it was less like ambiguous, where it was just straight up like, oh no, Michelle's helping Marilyn eat people.
Yeah, I feel like we have very different feedback styles regarding that, because when you showed me your first draft of this comic, I was like, no, I think you're taking it too far off in completely rogue directions. I think you need to rein it in a bit. And then when I showed you a draft of a horror comic that I'm working on, you were like, you need to take this further.
Right. It's just like different scenarios, it's just situations. When that original ending, that was because like the issue with that one, it was like it wasn't escalating properly. It's just like in between like one small moment and then like the implication like bigger stuff happening in between, and then here's like the conclusion of it. And when I was doing that, I did mention to you I felt kind of frustrated with this initial draft because it felt like it's escalated too quickly. It felt paced badly, and the issue was like I didn't know how to go in between because it feels repetitive.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with drawing or writing short story comics that are about a singular theme. It's like, how do you extend this out without making it feel repetitive?
Right.
But you overcame it in the end.
Of course, and it helped a lot. Actually, when you helped me write the new ending, there was like different takes on the ending. Spoilers for It Girl, but of course in the ending, you read it. It ends with like Michelle in silence, disappearing, and then just Marilyn like popping up. In the original ending, it was supposed to take notes from like the initial draft where like Michelle was supposed to like try and kill Marilyn. Marilyn was supposed to start talking back to her, like agitating her, and then just making her just try and murder her, and then ambiguously Michelle will be covered in like a sort of black substance. But I decided not to go with that ending and just like leave it more like, how do you say, abstract, because it felt more fitting, because like we're not really sure what's going on or why Michelle is acting the way it is, or if she's really seeing what she's seeing.
Yeah, I think it works. I think it works for the characters and the scenario and the direction you ended up going.
And I made sure to like leave like hints and ideas, but like I made sure to like there are information that are contradicting with each other with their actions and what happens when you end. There's just I hope people remember like the very important piece of dialogue that Michelle said earlier in the chapters.
That's a Yuri clue. Everyone go
Yeah.
out with your Yuri clues and read It Girl.
But yeah, I'm just really happy with how this turned out, and I'm glad it became like a lot more reserved compared to the idea. Cause like I think what made it work was like the moments with blood.
Yeah, adding that additional color into the color scheme is really impactful.
Right, like I decided to go with like that palette, the Pacific color tree in the beginning, because I wanted to like not only limit my palette but also work with like hues and lightings to work with these scenes. I even used the way I shade like the characters as a means of like reflecting their moods, their how they're thinking mentally, and I did my best to like have characters act a certain and specific way and look a specific way. Like of course, Marilyn never changes her expression, and that kind of like leads into nature. Like, is she a mannequin? Is she unfeeling? What is she? Why is she like this?
Yeah, she very rarely changes, except for a few select panels, I think, where you referenced.
Oh yeah, the Sadar Kasuming child.
Yeah.
Even then, it's like it's not. Even then, it's like the reality. It's not even that much of a drastic change from like how she usually looks.
But Michelle is a very expressive character.
Very expressive, like I said, very Lupin-esque.
Yeah, it suits her character. The way that you've drawn them really suits their characters well. So while we're on the topic of the art behind drawing a comic like this, I think we have a few listeners who are interested in drawing comics for themselves. So would you like to go behind your process for drawing a comic?
Sure. So like I guess you could say I have professional training in like doing comics because I am an SVA graduate and I did like study in like comics and stuff. So it's just a lot of it just doing like make sure to script it out first, plan out the drafts and stuff to where how many panels is going to be in one page, what certain action is, details. But it's also kind of tedious a lot of times, and I'm very loose and open when it comes to it because like I'm usually just doing it myself, and plus a lot of details aren't like cemented in stones. Like if you look in my script, you can see like I change up some stuff or I change the dialogue a bit between that and the final page, but you have to really look closely on that. And plus like certain beats aren't exactly aligned properly. It's a lot of just like free-forming it and like going with the flow, but like feeling like what it's actually needed and what it like what was planned for.
Yeah, I appreciate that about your art. I think that it suits you well as someone who likes to draw in a lot of different styles and experimenting on what you're working on.
Yeah. And I would say, even though I'm very freeform, I will still say planning stuff out and making references is still very important because it can help with later processes or like angles later on. Because it's like a reference for when you need it most. It's just always important to have. It always helps to like plan stuff out. And I probably would say if you're planning using like a specific brush or tool or something, I would say like do a lot of sketches, playing around with it a lot before you feel like you need to commit yourself. I did use a different brush early on, which it did help a lot, but it also was like it just increased like the workflow because of how often I needed to like push down or hold down tar, but this probably is just me. But it did kind of work out because once I changed brushes, it was a lot more easier. It made the process easier, and everything started like more erratic and tune with the nature of the story. So that worked on its own right. But I would say be properly prepared with your tools and understand if you're ready, if you feel comfortable with being committed to it.
Yeah, that's good advice. I definitely agree with that, and especially for a first long form comic, that's important. So, speaking of good advice, for the next segment, we have each prepared our top 3 tips and pieces of advice for working on your first comic and for actually completing it, for getting it done. So, we've each prepared our own advice, and Rosa, how about you share yours first?
Make character references. Always make character references, and be sure to be able to easily go back to it and make sure the characters are drawn in the way that you're comfortable with and understand. Plan it out, write it out, make sure you have your drafts. Don't do everything all at once, or else you're gonna make yourself frustrated. And 3, don't overly commit on drafts, just like draw them well enough for you to understand. But do not draw them too abstractly that you don't understand it.
Yeah, true. I feel like in the past I've been amazed by how beautiful and clean your sketches are, because I'm not that person, but if it's going to take too long, you don't have to do that.
Right. Yeah. But those are my 3 advices. Tips.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And you, Kelsey, what are your tips?
Okay, my tips for getting your comic done are: number 1, have a friend or friends who can support you and can go through the process with you.
Yes, true.
I already talked before about how Rosa and I give each other advice when we're in the story planning stage.
Right.
But...
Yeah, very important advice.
Yeah.
Essential advice.
But then we also have our other friends who show up to our comic creation sessions, and I feel like their support is so vital. I need someone to smack me over the head with the rolled up newspaper and say, get on with it.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Also, blessed to have Connie around, and Erica, and other Petal Leaf members.
Yes. Number 2, do everything you can to make it easier for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, you already covered this with your advice on character references and brushes and stuff like that. I also had an experience where I was like, ooh, I'm going to use this brush that's so much more interesting than the one I usually use, and I didn't even get an entire page done before I was like, I can't do this. If I keep using this brush, I'm not going to finish the comic. So it's like, if you have a brush that you usually use, there's probably a reason for that. It's probably because it's what makes your workflow easier. Just stick with that.
And a lot of it's just like it's a tool you understand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against experimentation, but maybe your first comic is not the time for that.
Right. Maybe your 4-panel is probably the best place for experimentation.
And tip number 3 is accept that it's going to take time. And this is something that I could probably talk for hours on, and it's a little bit personal to me, but seriously, my relationship with comic creation improved so much once I wrapped my head around the concept of, this is going to take a lot of time. Oh well, that's not that big a deal. I mean, chances are you're probably going to underestimate how long it will take for the creation of your first comic, because reading comics is something you can do very quickly, but then, I don't know, think of your favorite comic and then look up how long that took to make. If it was something that was released serially, look up how many years it ran over. So then take that amount of time and then multiply that. Double, triple, quadruple that time for yourself, because that time that you're looking at, that's from a comic artist that chances are they do it full time. They have assistants to help them. Maybe they even have a whole team.
Yeah. Remember, Dragon Ball didn't look like that. Dragon Ball was... Before Dragon Ball, there was Dr. Slump, and before Dr. Slump, there was Dragon Boy.
But what's important is, don't get discouraged by the time it's taking. Because if this comic is something that you want to make, then that time is being put to good use, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah. time will pass and you'll still be here.
So, Rosa, what are your Yuri goals for 2026?
Definitely, I want to make an animated short, either in 2D or 3D, whatever fits my fancy at the moment. I might end up doing both. We'll see. I'm crazy like that.
So I believe you could.
Yeah, I could. And as soon as I find like the workflow for it, it's like, oh my god, I can do it.
Yeah, you've made some 3D animated clips in the past for other projects, and I've been really impressed by those. I think you could make a full-on short.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as I figure out how to do timeline properly, it'll be over.
Keep at it. Keep at it.
And in terms of like comic projects, probably will do shorter comics because I kind of want to focus on like making some shorts this year, and so I do definitely want to make like a lot more comics, like low commitment comics. I might do a zine.
Ooh.
Which is just like the relative idea of Magic Girls, where I just draw like a bunch of like Magic Girl related media, like say one there's like a page on Madoka, another page is on Precure, and another page is like being Puppy Cat, because like relatively Magic Girl.
Ooh, that's interesting. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, but we'll see. It depends, because I'm also waiting on some news. We'll see.
Ooh. Okay.
And a comic project I also want to finish is Kamen Rider Ed's Precure fan comic.
Yeah, that one's been sitting on the back burner for a long time.
Yeah, we'll probably get it as soon as I find the energy to do that. That's probably will be done within a month.
Yeah, look, you can leave the sketches not that good, like not that clear. I'll take over and do the line art. Just leave it with me.
You say that, and then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna give you like full beloved, beautifully done sketch pages. Like, oh yeah, here are my drafts.
This always happens with you. Your sketches are so nice, and then mine are like no one can tell what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, you should see the ones that there were sketches I did where I had no idea what was going on because they were just completely the drafts. But either way, I hope we get that though. We made like 2 amazing characters in that one.
Yeah, it's good. I think that we need to finish it this year. And that matches with my Yuri goal for this year, which is I vow to finish all my unfinished projects before starting any new ones this year.
Yeah, you have a lot of unfinished ones.
Okay, what am I going to finish this year? I'm going to finish Petra 1. I'm going to finish the Tamagotchi comic that I started last year.
I can't wait for that one.
Going to finish the Erika Kurumi comic that I started last year. Year before even. I started that 2023, and then I just never finished it.
Yeah, you had to put that on pause for a bit. I still look back on the drafts here and there. It's so fun to look at.
Thank you. I'm going to dig those out and finish it this year.
I might make my own Erika Kurumi comic, but like related to like transgender band. We'll see.
Oh, that'd be cute. I hope you do.
Maybe that'll be in the relatively Magic Girl zine.
And then once I finish all those projects, then I can draw my horror Yuri that Rosa told me I need to go harder on.
Of course. It need to go horror for pacing reasons.
Yeah, I think that's a weakness of mine, honestly. I don't think I'm good at pacing, and I appreciate having someone look over it.
Mm-hmm. Then again, I also came to you to ask for help with pacing stuff too in It Girl.
I didn't really give you any pacing advice, though. I was just like, think about Little Shop of Horrors, and then apply that.
Right. Oh, actually, yeah, Little Shop of Horror changes everything.
Okay. Do you think it's time to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're good to wrap it up.
We gotta come back to the cafe soon and talk about the Yuri that we've seen.
Yeah. We read a good one the other day.
We did, and I vow to watch Girl Band Cry because you said I should.
Oh yeah, I should talk about Girl Band Cry. Is it the most Yuri? No. Is it about a band? Yes. Does that qualify as Yuri? Yes.
And what are people going to do about it? They think that you can't talk about whatever you want at Cafe Lily.
Yeah. I talk about whatever I want, and remember, Kumi can't communicate is banned.
Okay, well, see you next year.
See you next series.